$820 into $450 million.
Correct.
How did you do that?
Countless 100 to 120-hour work weeks for 10 years. Actually, 9 years, 11 months, and 1 week. I was 3 weeks short of 10 years. People ask me why I stopped at 3 weeks short of 10 years. I can't give them an answer. I had enough. I was tired.
And that was Great Western.
Yeah, correct.
Yep. Is it true your first 12 months you did $50 million in revenue?
$50,540,000.
With just yourself?
Myself.
No employees, just you?
A fax machine, myself in the spare bedroom of my first big house that I ever owned, and a square cell phone. They used to have blocks. They looked like bricks.
Beat people with them.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. And it was with government contracts. I was selling jet fuel, JP4, to the federal government, and I was utilizing refineries that were only running at between 40 and 60% capacity. And I couldn't understand, why is there a shortage of jet fuel? And yet the refineries are only operating at 40 to 60% capacity because it's the U.S. government or any government, the Australian government.
Yeah. So you started with government contracts, then you took an option public. Is that right?
Yeah. A few years later, about 30 months later.
Did you want to explain what taking option public means? Because a lot of meatheads out there wouldn't understand that.
Well, house flipping has been around since World War II. In Australia, you buy a house for $80,000, you fix it up, and you sell it for $120,000. Okay, you're actually you're buying the house, and you're selling the house within a period of 3 to 12 to 15 months. Well, sometimes you don't buy the house. Sometimes you take an option. This house that you've got that you think is worth $85,000, I'll give you $5,000 for a 12-month option. So I have the right to work on it, sell it, or buy it, then sell it in 12 months. So then I put in $15,000 in the 85. So now potentially I have a $100,000 investment, and I sell it for $150,000. It's exactly the same principle with companies. Okay,
right.
So I took an option on 2 million acres in the Denver Jules Basin in Wyoming. For 2 million acres, I paid $2 million for the oil rights. I gave him $60,000, the only $60,000 I had at the time, and for a 6-month option. And so I was under pressure to be able to perform in 6 months. I was able to perform, and 99 days later, after we signed the agreement, not at a table dissimilar to this one, without the microphones and cameras and lights, and I took it public for 200 million pounds. So I had a $60,000 investment, and I had $60,000 invested, and I cleared 200 million pounds. And at that time, the pound was
in what time? In what time frame?
99 days.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I took it public on my 39th birthday, and we're closing in on my 80th birthday here in a few days. But on my 39th birthday, August 10th, 1984, and we were public on the London Stock Exchange. Till that time, nobody had ever taken an option public. A lot of people have done or did the example I just gave you about flipping houses and flipping companies, but nobody ever thought of taking it public on a public exchange. I don't know why nobody thought of it. And so we had to get special permission from the Bank of England, which we did. And a genius kid that I mentored named Jeremy Knight, who was the financial whiz kid at that time in London. It was one of the great deals of the 80s. And then I went and did the same thing in the Netherlands. I ran over there, or flew over there, and then they made it illegal. You can't do it. You have to own what you take public now.
Did they make it illegal because of you?
Yeah. They used to call it the Peña. Well, they can't pronounce my name right. They used to call it the Peña rule.
Yeah, right.
The Peña rule, yeah. And so it hasn't been done since. Although a couple of my mentees have tried unsuccessfully in Hong Kong and some of the other secondary or tertiary markets. But all of a sudden, somebody wakes up and says, fuck, this was made illegal in 1984, 85, so we can't do it. And so nobody's done it since.
Whereabouts did acquisition fit into Great Western?
Because I found early on in my Wall Street career, people are always looking for a return on investment. How much money are we putting up, and the risk profile? How much risk am I taking, or how much risk are the investors that I've gathered together taking, and do they really understand the risk profile? And almost always they don't. Okay, and so when in my research I found Andrew Carnegie quite by accident. He took not stuff public, but he found it was easier to buy revenue than create it. You made an acquisition, you know what it takes. It had a certain amount of revenue when you bought it. How much money or how many years did the guy or the group of people take to create that revenue? You never know for sure. But organic growth is painful. Organic growth costs you money. And so it's easier to buy somebody's revenue because it's already historical. They've kept accounts. They have numbers. If you're fortunate, they've got a legitimate audit. And so it was easier to buy. And after I took Great Western Public, I made approximately 22 acquisitions. Rapid fire. One after another, after another, after another, after another. And we built the company up to just short of $500 million. In today's money, it's about $1.3 billion or $4 billion, because this is 40-year-old money, 40 years ago. And so when I got thrown out of Great Western, the shareholders ultimately threw me out.
How'd that happen?
Well, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in 1990, 1991, and the Great Gulf War began. My biggest shareholder was the Kuwaiti Sovereign Fund, or the Kuwaiti government. And so people thought, because until the Allies got involved in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, Kuwait was losing, and Iraq was going to take over and basically adopt, not dissimilar to President Trump saying he's going to take over Canada, he's going to take over all these places. Well, Saddam Hussein was doing that. And our share price dropped 85%, because if Iraq was successful in Kuwait, Kuwait would have to sell assets to pay for the war and or pay for the restoration or the rebuilding of Kuwait. I know both were untrue, because I knew how much money they had. And I know that the war could have lasted 10 years, and Kuwait had plenty of money. But the share price went down, and the shareholders, when the share price drops 85%, I personally lost hundreds of millions myself. Nobody lost more money than I did. Somebody had to fall on the sword. And so the shareholders, namely Kuwait, my former partners, told me I had to left. And then I fought a very long lawsuit for them to pay me my contract.
Is that when you started coaching?
Yeah. Well, shortly thereafter.
Yeah, because that would have been a massive...
Because I got thrown out in January 92. My first seminar I gave was May 93.
Yep. Yeah, because that would have been a massive change, going from head of a company like that to being thrown out.
Not dissimilar to Steve Jobs, not dissimilar to a lot of the guys. So I know what that felt like.
And then QLA was born.
Correct. Quantum Leap Advantage.
Helping everyday people like myself generate wealth.
Correct.
Did you want to explain what QLA is?
Well, it's the mafia model without a gun, basically. For real, it is. That we show people with no money to start, using a combination of normally commercial finance and some form of equity, not equity that you put up, but equity through the form of the seller taking back a note and being part of the financial model, and that you buy companies that have revenue that is significant enough that to cover debt service if it was a commercial bank. And we don't buy turnarounds. We don't buy fixer-uppers. We just buy companies, albeit small in the beginning, that have, a guy may work 5, 10, 15, 25 years to build a $3 or $4 or $5 million revenue, and he can't go any farther. And he's tired. He's been at it 25, 30, 35 years, and he's beat up. And so we come in and we become his succession plan. Because as much as people don't want to die and leave their companies or their assets that they worked the whole lifetime to the government, and that's who takes them over. If you die intestate, meaning without a will, without a succession plan, the government takes it over, and then they sell off assets as willy-nilly as they see fit. And and so we make them an offer, i.e., like the mafia without a gun, that they can't refuse. I can help you out. or you can leave it to the government. It's your choice. And 9 times out of 10, if it's explained properly, the challenge we have, as you well know, the kids don't explain it properly. All this stuff is free on my website. Anything I'm going to say here today has been free on my website for 20 years.
Well, I've been finding it really hard to get sellers to agree to seller's finance
Well,
or
you're doing something wrong,
even
then.
consider it. Yeah.
You're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's easy.
It hasn't been for me just yet. But
Okay, well,
I'll keep pushing. I'll keep
okay,
pushing.
well, you have to keep pushing. And it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Now, you see all the success stories I talk about. The room for my party in a few days, we're going to have about $5 billion in the room. $5 billion.
Crazy.
And all started from scratch. All started, didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. All at your end of the poverty continuum. And we've got some big fucking hitters now. And from Africa, Australia, South America, Canada, the United States, all through Europe. 30 plus years ago when I started, I was the only example. And people would say, well, I'm not Dan. I don't have the communication skills. And they were all right. But you don't have to have communication. You know, with the greatest respect, you can be a meathead like you. And we've got guys that you're Einstein compared to some of the morons who are going to be in the room in a couple of days. You're Einstein.
And they've done it.
Yeah, and they've done it. And some have big egos, some have no egos. But they all have one thing in common. They've all done deals. TK, the guy from Arizona, who did $348 million his first 11 months. And he's not even he's one of the average hitters in the room. They're just, it's beyond belief. But because we crossed the $1 trillion mark in November 2017, because that was my goal, to create 1 million millionaires. I thought I'd do it in 7, 8 years. It took me 24 years. 24 years. But now we're at 2.3 trillion. Because 2 things have happened. One, they're reporting to me more. Because I have no gun to their head after they do their deals. We get,
it's all on them.
Yeah, I know, but I get emails from people I never met. Never came to the seminar, like yourself. Okay? They've done hundreds of millions. Sometimes, in some cases, billions. And they're in some little shithole part of the world. One of our, golden spots is Acapulco and Guadalajara, Mexico, which I haven't been to in 30 years. And there's guys down there rolling up hospitals. And what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the Achilles heel in human nature, okay? And that is that nobody wants to leave their assets to the government. And somebody wants some sort of legacy.
So we swoop in.
Yeah.
We sweep in.
And it's worked out, since the first seminar in May 1993, and it works through today. When you went to the seminar a year or so ago or whenever it was, you saw the people in the room. Some you think, well, how did this idiot do it? And some, are not gifted. We haven't had anybody gifted in the seminar in a long time. But you don't have to be gifted. All you have to do is not give up. That's the only thing you have to do is not give up.
So you're saying with no money, any average person can go out there and...
No, below average.
So you don't have to be an alpha male?
No.
Is it easier if you're an alpha male?
Yeah.
Right. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, let's compare you and myself, okay? I eat people like you for breakfast, but I eat everybody for breakfast. I could eat Donald Trump for breakfast. Full disclosure, I knew the president 30 plus years ago. But you don't have to be, he just had a death in our group, Peter Harasti.
Yeah.
He used to call himself the Hungarian Forrest Gump, little mousy guy. You've seen him on the videos.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's dead. He just went on a jog one morning and dropped fucking dead. 43 years old. Okay?
Too young.
He had made a couple dozen acquisitions. He left his wife a whole bunch of money. I'm sure she would rather have him back. And 4 kids. So she's got plenty of money to support the kids. But he made 30,000 euros a year. He used to have to sell Christmas cookies at the malls so he could afford to buy Christmas presents for his children. Christmas fucking cookies.
Be hard.
And he said, like he said in the videos, it was either, this or death. And you got people that are going to listen to you that I'm not suggesting they commit suicide, but most of the people that listen to this are better off dead.
Well, I hope they don't commit suicide, and I hope that they go and do something with their lives.
Yeah, well, they do. But I mean, you can drag the horses to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Okay, unless you stand on their head, and then they suffer drowning. But I mean, it's so easy. And then once they do the deals, unfortunately, most people stop following the steps because they found it was too easy. You shouldn't be able to make money that easily, people will say. And even the kids, even you will say, fuck, it can't be this easy.
See, I got comfortable. I did the first deal, and then I just got comfortable with life. It was too easy. Then I went to your seminar, and I've kind of left and just, like I'm embarrassed to have done as little as I've done. Whereas before I went there, I thought, well, I might be someone special. I've done something different and something amazing.
Well, there were a lot of people that thought there was something special and they're not. It's that simple. And the question has always been, since I discovered this, and I didn't discover it, I copied, not verbatim, but 95% of the Andrew Carnegie model.
But he was seller's finance, is that correct? Yeah.
And he did it for a reason that he didn't want to reduce his equity by using equity investors and then sometimes commercial finance, because sometimes commercial finance also wants a piece of the deal. And he did it for that reason, back from starting before the Civil War in 1860-something, through till when he passed away in 1919. And I looked at the structure. I couldn't believe it. I said, and I went to my superiors at the time, one of which is going to be at the seminar. Not seminar, my party in a couple of days, who was my big boss. He's 90 now. He's not Keith. Why doesn't everybody fucking do this? And he said very simply, there are no fees involved. No bank, a Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, any bank is ever going to recommend something to its customer base, even though it's in their best interest, if the bank's not going to benefit. And I didn't believe him. I was naive. If you can believe I was ever naive, I was naive to think that the bank surely will suggest this. Well, I've been doing this now totally 54 years, and I've been doing it 30-some years with the kids like you. And I've yet to find a fucking banker that has suggested this, even though it's the best alternative.
Well, I've found a lot of bankers that I talk to don't even understand what I'm trying to do.
It's not taught anyplace.
Completely foreign to them.
Yeah, and it is. But it's doable. We have, and now it used to be roughly 2,000 cold calls to you do a deal. Now it's 1,406. The new average post-Corona, after Corona, 1,406. Some done at 700-800 calls, but that's the average. And the average now is about 15 months. From the time that you start and you successfully complete your first deal. But we have some guys that are doing a deal a month.
What's the quickest deal you've seen?
26 days.
Yeah. Seller's finance was commercial debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, seller's finance.
26. Well, the quickest is 7 days. With commercial banks, 26 days. And everything had to fall in line. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, to my way of thinking, anything you do other than that makes no sense. Makes no sense. And right now, I'm in the process of exiting several of the businesses I'm involved in. And if I'm not exiting, I'm getting them refinanced. Because I have no intention of doing this in my 90s, although I'll be 80 in a couple of days. But I'm involved in a lot of businesses. I'm not just going to walk away willy-nilly and leave them in a lurch. Yeah. But and right now, one of the things that's promoted me, extending my teaching career or coaching career, is the fact that Trump, as I predicted, won in a fucking landslide, and I haven't seen the same energy in finance, either in London or the United States, since the 80s. There's a fire in their belly. And even though everything President Trump doesn't do that I agree with, he is making it easier for us to do the things that we need to do. He's taking a lot of the regulations away. He's making it user-friendly. And when they sneeze in America, Australia, the UK, South America get a cold.
Well, talking about regulations, the Australian government pushes so hard for net zero, climate change. It's like where I live in Victoria, that it's a hotspot for coal. There's 3 power stations there. Well, there was 3. One of them just been shut down, and they're going to shut down another one, and they don't really have any plan to replace them. So I was kind of thinking maybe that's an opportunity, but the government is pushing so hard for net zero that it just stops everything getting done.
Well, net zero is a farce.
What are your thoughts on climate change?
Oh, well, it's a joke. But the guy that runs Saudi Arabia now, Ronaldo, the famous footballer, asked him recently, and they were sitting talking, what he thought about net zero. He had to ask an interpreter. He turned to his right and asked him, "What the fuck, is this kid asking me?" If the head of the biggest oil producer in the fucking world doesn't even know what net zero is, you will not live long enough to see net zero. Never. If you had grandchildren, which I do, in their lifetime, are you going to see that?
If that's the case, then why do they push it so hard?
Because it's politically correct. But Trump, and to the extent that Elon Musk was involved in the government, they kicked the shit out of political correctness. AT&T, one of the biggest companies in the world, just announced on last Friday that they're going back to 100% in the office. You can't work from home anymore. The companies that my children work for both only have to be in the office. One's 3 days and one's 2 days.
How do they get anything done?
It's not. It's not that it's not important that they don't get anything done. What's important is they're seeing that since Corona, business results, with all this AI stuff, it's not easier to do a deal. It's harder to do a deal because they don't have the same synergy when you're at home, I'm at home, and you're having to pull these deals together at the last minute. 30 years ago, when I started coaching, to do a $100 million deal took about 6 weeks. Okay. In 30 years, we've had tremendous advances with computers. Okay. Tremendous advances with computers. We have tremendous, and of course now AI towards the end of that. Now it takes 12 weeks to do the same fucking deal.
Is that because that human element was kind of...
Because the human element are mostly cunts. Not mostly, well, not all, but almost all.
And how do you hold someone accountable when they're
not
there?
But see, you won't. See, I fire people. And you don't get something. I'm not interested in it. I don't care if your wife died giving labor. The Viking bitch just emailed me today, and I asked her and Viking bitch too to kind of be at the 3 functions, to be like sergeant of arms. It's easier for a 6'2" girl to keep drag a drunk guy out as opposed to security. And they're both they're big girls.
She does MMA or something.
Yeah. And so she said, "I'll do anything you want, Dad." But she is, like she told an interview not too long ago, when I met Dan, I was making about 150, 175 grand a year. I made 10 million last year. I'll do anything for him, legally 10 million. Okay. And you're going to have this. There's going to be $5 billion in the room. Actually, probably 6 billion, but we'll round it off at 5 in that fucking room.
It's still so foreign to me. It's a different world.
It is a different world, but you are who you hang around with.
That's why I'm here.
The average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and most of us, myself included, until I became a young Army officer, I hung around with the hood. We just passed my house coming here from downtown Los Angeles, and he was taking a shortcut to get around some traffic, and we went by where my house used to be. We went by the grammar school I used to be, where I tried to kill my teacher when I was in the grammar school. We went by the church I started my Catholic education in, just by serendipity, because I live about 4 or 5 miles outside downtown Los Angeles. It's a rough fucking neighborhood. It's still a fucking rough neighborhood, you know. And I'm sure it's not going to get less rough because you can't buy anything even if it's a rundown shack for less than $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 in Los Angeles. And some of those rundown shacks are $1 million, which I can't believe. My dad built our house in 1946 with a veteran's loan from World War II for $6,500 in 1946. It was 1,100 square feet big. The house had 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen. Now those houses you can't buy one for less than $1 million. Now they tore my house down, as you see in the slides, because it became a crack haven, and so the government, when they built the freeway that's right out here, Riverside Drive, they tore it down. But it's easier to buy revenue. It just is. And Trump being in office is prolonged my career. So I'm gonna continue to give coaching, and although I only gave 3 seminars this year, down from 8 or 9 in previous years, or even 10 in one year, because I want to try to get as many guys and gals across the tape before I stop. But I'm still going to keep all the material free. I don't sell anything. All the material is free on my website, and it's been free for 20 years.
So where would someone start?
QLA for Dummies, which is a book that we wrote 10 years ago. QLA for Dummies. And it was originally written for kids. I didn't think adults would use it, but it's now turned into the first primer of QLA.
Well, my 8-year-old wants to buy hotels because she's been like I always have your YouTube videos just blaring as I'm studying or doing my thing, and it's just kind of influenced her. So she's always telling me, "Daddy, I want to buy hotels. I want to buy hotels."
Yeah,
so.
well, they're available. Believe me. A year and a half ago, the largest office building in St. Louis, which is a main city in America, 54 stories, 100% empty. Had been empty for 5 years. Sold for $2.4 million. 54 stories. And not a dilapidated, not a fixer-upper.
Why is that?
Because the businesses, first of all, the bottom 2 or 3 floors were all retail. Retail's out of business. Okay. Now they want to buy everything either on Amazon or online somehow. Nobody has been a bigger disruptor of the economic model in America, or the world for that matter, than Jeff Bezos at Amazon. Nobody thought that his deal would work.
Look at it now.
Okay, now look at it. Okay. Another disruptor, not necessarily selling stuff for retail, is Facebook. There's a Facebook model, how you make money online. There's an Amazon model. There's a Google model. Because people now it's become respectable to do business on Zoom. I don't like doing business on Zoom, but it's become respectable. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody. They're currently lying to the public about AI. AI in 10 years is going to have consumed 60 to 80% of every job on the planet. Every motherfucking job on the planet. Now, what are all these fucking meatheads listening to this? What are they going to do? Are they going to get retrained? No. Is the government going to help them? No. They're fucked.
Who is safe then?
Nobody.
So there's no industry that's not going to be affected.
No. That's why it's easy to buy revenue. But see, you don't sell that way. You don't tell the fucking morons in Australia, you fucking moron, in 10 years you're going to be homeless, you cocksucker. Sell to me now while you got a succession plan, or starve in 10 years. Nobody sells like that but me and a few guys in the room that you're going to be with 3 days from now. And they're not alpha males. They say, well, they whisper it. I choke them, literally, with my hands, allegedly. But it works. Why does my sales methodology still work? How is this possible? Well, how did we elect a president of the United States who has done a lot of shit, not all of which is true that he gets accused of, but some of it is true? Why would anybody elect this guy president of the strongest position in the world? Because the world's fed up.
And they know he's competent.
Well, he's more competent than we've had. He's certainly more competent than President Biden was, who had, was brain dead.
He couldn't even speak.
Yeah, exactly. The world's fed up. Eventually, it'll get to Australia.
We are a little
But you got to, you can't, mealy mouth the fucking around. I was on the boat and I didn't hold court, but I developed a gathering, shall we say, on the boat I just got off of, and these people were brain dead. I told them they were brain dead. You don't just show, how when people are fat and you see the crack of their ass because of. That's not the only thing wrong with you, you fucking tubs of shit. Somebody ought to put a gun in your mouth and blow your fucking brains out, metaphorically speaking. I got to add that. But what value? When it's so easy. But if you don't try, you obviously can't do it. And if you give up, I was giving some lectures to 39 to 43-year-olds. 10 years from now, you're going to commit suicide. You're going to want to commit because you haven't accomplished shit. They were not arguing, is the wrong word. They were discussing their bonuses in the companies they got. One guy got a $185,000 bonus for doing nothing. Nothing, by his own admission. And I said, I hope nobody's filming this and send it back to your company. And so they were bragging about between $15,000 and $185,000 bonuses these 7 or 8 people got. Okay? And I said, just like they're bringing everybody back to work in the office because it's not impossible, but it's much more difficult to measure and keep people accountable when they're not, I can't see them. So this lollygag shit is over.
Doesn't work.
I'm glad that I've lived long enough to see it.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't.
It works much less effectively.
I have to ask, what part does failure have in this process? Because I would have looked at over 100 businesses, and it's one thing getting somebody to want to show you the books and show you the numbers, but it's another thing to actually make that work with seller's finance or commercial debt. But is there a ratio? Is there a
no? It used to be 2 out of 100.
Yeah,
two. No, but that's not selling to. That's coming to the close. Sometimes they close and sometimes they don't. I made thousands of presentations, literally thousands. For 9 years, 11 months, and 1 week, I worked between 100 and 120 hours a week. Your audience doesn't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Nobody in their right fucking mind wants to do that. I excluded my God, my family, my children, my parents. And a bulk of my net worth is still responsible for those 10 years.
Well, people that know me know that I do put in a lot of hours, but maybe it's not enough.
Well, no.
Maybe there's some distraction
we
somewhere.
have kids that are putting in, they only sleep. Now, I needed sleep. Okay? We have kids that operate on a couple hours sleep a night. I can't do that. Okay? I used to be able to stay up 3 or 4 days in a row working on a deal, and then the deal, I collapse. Okay? The adrenaline leaves me, and I literally collapse. I can't do that anymore. But nobody, there's a hip hop guy, Reverend somebody, it says, if you don't want success like you want air in your lungs, you're going to fail. And that was me for all those years.
Desperation.
Yeah. Well, no, people come to me, they say they're inspired, but they're really desperate. We have 2 things that motivate us, desperation and inspiration. And I haven't seen an inspired guy. There's a couple inspired guys. The last day of my party, you tell me what 2 guys in the group you think are really, there's going to be 2 that are really inspired, driven like I used to be. You tell me if you can tell. Okay?
I'll find them.
Okay, we'll see. But there's 2 of them. And they're animals. Fucking animals. But we have guys do this in jail. I'm going to make a speech in England, not this year, but next year. I'm going to a prison outside London. I got great followings in prison, you know, because you can do it.
All via Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm going into the prison.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't give a shit, you know. And as you know, I've been arrested a number of times.
So you're saying that criminal record doesn't matter. Where you live in the world doesn't matter.
Double murderers do this. Double fucking murders. And he had no. He did 9 years. He got off for good behavior, and he didn't really repent. He was glad he killed the 2 fuckers. And he's a big healthcare guy down in Southern Florida today.
He did healthcare.
Healthcare.
See, for some reason, I don't know where I got this idea, but I thought that if you're not educated, if you don't come from money, if you have a criminal record, you can't do these things.
Well, my criminal record popped up not too long ago. Sally and I were traveling through Peru or someplace, and they put us in a cell at the airport, and something I did in 1974 popped up. Now, it was another Daniel S. Peña, but my record popped up. That's the last time I got arrested, 1974. Assault with a deadly weapon. And now because of the terrorist lists, they're going way back, and especially since Trump now, they're going way back, you know. But you can be a criminal, you know, because there's nothing criminal about these transactions. And bankrupt people do it. There's 2 or 3 bankrupt guys that are going to be in the crowd that are very successful. But they believe the myths. There's a lot of urban myths about business, one of which is you need money, bullshit. 2, we had a Kennedy. I interviewed a Kennedy not too long ago, a real live Kennedy, like the Kennedy presidents and all that. He looks like a Kennedy. He looks the part. And he thought that because of all the mystique about the Kennedy assassinations, that would hurt his chances of doing QLA. And I explained to him very clearly it isn't. The only thing that keeps you from doing this kind of transaction is between your ears. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. But most people just talk about wanting to be successful. You know, I've had the privilege of mentoring a few Olympians, 1 gold medalist, an astronaut, the 3rd guy to walk on the moon, Pete Conrad. And they don't think of the hours that they put in as part of their training, because if you don't love what you aspire to do, if you don't really have a passion for it, it's harder for you. I'm a transaction junkie. I like doing deals. It didn't matter if it was healthcare, tech, didn't make a difference to me. It still doesn't. I like the hunt of the deal and then get it done and then turning it over to somebody to run. But the kids today, the last 25 to 30 years, have gotten lazy. Most of the people that are listening, if anybody listens to your fucking podcast, they're lazy. They're fucking lazy.
I see it everywhere.
And they're cunts. You know, but you don't have to be an alpha male animal. Does it help? Yeah. Does it help with failure? No. But I've got so many failures, I could write volumes of books of what not to do. What not to do. And somebody, one of my relatives, his wife said at dinner on the boat that I just got off of, Dan told you this. She could name the date, August of 2011. Dan told you this was going to happen. And it happened in 2013, 14, talking about family business.
Yeah.
2013, 14, and 15. Exactly what Dan said happened. And they lost everything. They didn't have to lose everything.
They didn't take action?
They didn't take action. You know, the best book in sex you ever read, I never read a book on sex, isn't like getting your nuts off. I mean... You
got to do it. You got to fucking do it.
No. So you can read 700 books, but it's not... I'd rather fuck 700 people.
Yeah. Experience.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, see, with my first deal, it was all action, and I watched fuck all your videos, fuck all of them. So, like, I wasn't a major shareholder, but still, I saw you say that you can do a deal with no money. You don't have to, be anyone special, and
Correct.
and it worked for me. But I didn't consume all the content. I didn't even take notes. I just smashed through it and just push, and got it done. So it is possible. Anyone could do it. Yeah.
And we have now a couple million people that have done it. And we've created way in excess of 1 million millionaires. We've up to 2.3 trillion in generational wealth from teenage multimillionaires. My first teenage multimillionaire is going to be there. A young kid.
Is that Carling?
No. He's Matt Posius. He came to me in the 90s when he was 17. He's a big deal. He was a big deal when he was 17, and now he's 45, kind of, I guess. He came to me in 93, 94, 95, and haven't seen him in a long, long time. We got my first mentee, a big real estate developer here. But I don't. It's not like I go out and play golf or drink with these guys. But one of the reasons, and when I do my next podcast, just like I just want the guys that have done deals. Remember, 99% of the people that have created the 2.3 trillion, I've never met in person. And we verify the numbers. We make them get audits and shit like this. And one guy who's going to be at the seminar, a Mexican kid from Canada, who is not brain dead, but close to being brain dead. He just went over 10 million in EBITDA. He came to the seminar in 2018. So it's taken him from 2018 till today, healthcare. And there's a bunch of those guys, but I've never met. But if I can't verify the numbers, I don't use the numbers. But there's a lot of verifiable numbers that, they don't think I need another billion or 2 billion.
So who knows what
there's
the number
only
really
one billionaire on my website. All the rest are embarrassed. One.
Why is that?
They're embarrassed to tell people that they used to call me a wetback. A Mexican wetback from East LA, the hood, taught them. They're embarrassed. There's only one on my website, and there's 56 of them.
56 billionaires. Now, I've seen you. I've seen somewhere on the internet that you had something to do with Grant Cardone. What was the tie there?
No, well, a podcast like this, somebody asked me, how do you know Grant? I said he interviewed me twice about 7-8 years ago, which is true. And he took down one of the interviews, and there's other interviews still on there, where he interviewed me in his roles, going to get a Starbucks coffee. And very nice office. He had a real nice machine. But I said, you can do a lot better. And so I explained to him, and now he's a billionaire. He's got, 300,000 units or 3 million units. I don't know. But then he had 300.
He's doing good, yeah.
Yeah, and so to his credit, he asked his people. Now, I wasn't there for all this. I just know second, third hand. Is what Peña, the old fuck, say it was true. He says, yeah, we could do that. Now, allegedly, he fired his staff.
Immediately.
Right then and there. Wasn't interested in why you never told me. And he changed his model. And now he manages, 4 or 5 billion, something like that. He's doing a great job. But he could have done it 5 or 10 years earlier. Now, and that came up. And so the guy that interviewed me was the mentee of Grant. So he said, does that mean that you're Grant's mentee? And I said, no. I said, he was already successful before I met him. And he was. And so, but I mean, there's 50 plus the guys. 50 more. When the wall came down in the early 90s, a few of the oligarchs for Putin, I trained. And we just had one of the sons of the oligarch come to the seminar, this last seminar, Russian, and he says, Thank you for not telling anybody who I was. Nobody gives a fuck that your dad's worth $40 billion that you stole and killed people for, which is true. Now, gangsters and shit like that think this is a great model, except then they put a gun in their mouth. They have a 100% close ratio. It's either you sell the business or I blow your brains out.
It'd be a lot easier to do it that way.
Yeah. It would be easier, yeah.
Don't know how feasible it is, though.
Yeah. But if you're not closing at least 2 or 3 out of 10, you're doing something wrong.
Well, I'm doing something wrong then.
They either don't like you, they don't like the deal, they don't like your board. There's somebody on your board. I'm pretty sure when you came through the seminar, I said, I got a call from a guy I called a guy from Deloitte a long time ago. And I said, why can't this guy get it done? Now, I knew because the guy's name was Saddam Hussein, before the Saddam, okay? And I knew it was his name, but he was a devout Muslim, and you couldn't convince him that it was his name. So the guy from Deloitte says, Mr. Peña, are you recording this? Because I'm famous for recording all my conversations. No, it's his name. It's obvious his name. But we try to tell him in a polite way. And he's
Change
dead.
the fucking thing.
Yeah, he's dead now. He went to Allah. I trained his son, his daughter. But, I mean, there's certain things that no matter how legitimate the deal is, no matter how the board looks, if you got a name like Saddam Hussein, there's little chance you're ever going to get a deal done, unless you're dealing in the Muslim world. I'll be with you then, okay? But, he was trying to deal in the non-Muslim world, and he had little or no success. Although, ostensibly, in theory, he was a successful businessman. He built up a business worth 10, 15 million pounds because he was English. But, I mean, he could have gone a lot farther down the generational wealth road if he had just made a few concessions. But, some of the guys, my religion with the Catholic Church is sacrosanct. I won't do anything against the Catholic Church. And I'm starting to get the recognition. I was knighted. I'm going to the Vatican in a few weeks to get another award. I'm going to see the Pope. But I mean, I'm an overnight success after 50 years. Okay. And so better late than never, as my wife would say. But as long as it's not against my Catholic upbringing, anything goes with me. I mean, when I say I'm going to get a fucking deal done, I'm not bullshitting. I'm going to get it done or die trying. And the kids don't have that kind of commitment anymore. Now, is it convenient? Is it my wife's birthday? Is it my daughter's sweet 16th party? My mother's got dementia. Well, if everybody stopped doing business because their mother got dementia, there's going to be a lot less business done. Unfortunately, dementia is with us. It's alive and well. But we have guys that are you're going to meet at the party or you see at the party. They had a Zoom call when their wife was delivering a baby in the fucking hospital. Push, honey, push.
That's commitment.
Yeah. Viking bitch we had a Zoom call, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. Her husband was in the hospital with a broken neck. And she says, I'm not dead and I'm not in a coma, so I wouldn't miss the call, Mr. Peña. Okay. With a broken fucking neck.
And that kind of commitment is a must.
Absolute.
Yeah.
If you're going to do maximum damage, as I call it. Maximum damage.
So there's no 50, 60% commitment. It's 100% or nothing.
As I was asked by an Australian, funny enough, and a Dutch guy, they were partners, a husband and wife. Have you ever seen a part-time high-performance person? I looked around the room. Am I having a stroke? I mean, what? Those are mutually exclusive. There is no part-time in this. It doesn't mean you have to do it the rest of your life. But I still work 50, 60 hours a week, but I don't consider it work. It's not work to me. I haven't worked.
Because you're passionate.
I tried to explain to the last seminar. I have not had a paycheck since 1982. A paycheck. And haven't had to work since 1984. And I still do this. And I still enjoy it. I enjoy the results. The Carlings, which are going to be there, where their 14-year-old daughter and their 17-year-old son just sold to the largest something or other in the world, a Japanese company. And he hit the jackpot for hundreds of millions. And when I met them 7 years ago, they had 4 employees and they had turnover about 700,000-800,000. Now they have turnover. Well, they sold a bunch of it, so I don't know what their turnover is. But before they sold, their turnover was in the hundreds of millions, and they had thousands of employees. But they work like dogs, husband and wife team, and rarely do husband and wife teams work. But in this particular case, they do work.
And they both went to your seminar.
Yeah. Well,
Both, yeah.
he came to the hardcore, and their neighbors, they from Dundee, Scotland, and they say you can't do it in Scotland. Oh, Nagy from Australia is going to be there.
He did it from Adelaide.
That's a shithole and a half.
It is.
Nelly from Africa is going to be there. And
Do you see common traits amongst all those people?
Yeah, they not all, but almost all of them have something to prove. Remember, I reminded somebody here recently, I just went to my high school reunion, 60 years. They asked me to get up and talk. I reminded them, I said, many of you voted the most unlikely to succeed in our class. You voted for me. And everybody looks down. And then I said, and if you didn't vote for me for that, you voted for me for being class clown.
I got that, and I also got most likely to be on a wanted list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And they looked down. And I said, here I am, the only guy's up, you asked to talk. And they made fun of a guy that married a billionaire, a billionairess. And he was there with his billionaire wife. And they made fun of him. And so both of us are laughing, And I said, now look at you. All bent out of shape, hearing aids, wheelchairs. And I talk to people that way. You shouldn't talk to people that way. It's not respectful. But I remember back 60 years. Now, did it hurt me then? No. I have rhino skin. You can't hurt my feelings. You can call me any fucking thing. And when I was young, if they were fighting words, we fought. Not too long ago, I was in Toronto at a board meeting with a guy that's going to be at the meeting. And we're going to a restaurant. One of the guys says, we're going to take a shortcut through the alley. Fine. So we go through the alley, and these 3 big black guys step out in the middle of the alley. Now, my board members disappeared. I mean, all of a sudden, there was the kid and me.
Chicken shits.
Yeah, who was black. And so I walked up to the biggest black guy. I said, okay, kids, are we going to fight or dance? Oh, no, Mr. Binney, we want your autograph. True story. They were following us, and they thought that they couldn't get my autograph unless, they snuck up on me or something.
Lucky you didn't hit first.
Yeah. Well, I was looking for something to hit him with, but there was no, my favorite used to be trash can lids, the big round thing like that. But there was none of that. I did a quick look, but fuck, I'm going to get my clothes fucked up. Yeah.
Right. If you could leave us with one bit of advice, what would it be?
Dream big, never give up. The bigger and the most bodacious and the most outrageous thing. I wanted to be in a castle on an island. Not the kind of island I'm on. One of the James Bond kind of island, the Sean Connery. My wife kindly reminds me, well, we live on an island, but not the island. 99 days later, I bought it. And there's no rhyme or reason why I should be living in a 15th century storybook castle. None. Not here. If you go back to Los Angeles and you take the freeway I just got off of, and you get just before Dodger Stadium, and you look to the left, that hovel barrio is where I lived, right there, okay? There's no way that I should be from that hovel where I tried to kill my teacher in grammar school. And I'm not bragging about it. I'm not suggesting any of you should try to do that. But this is what I thought like, okay? And that would have been the last, I tried to kill him in 1955, and I moved into the castle in 1984, okay? And so, and I've accomplished all these things, but I've always had big dreams. I always thought that,
it's possible.
I got more sex than the fucking Beatles because, when I heard the term when I was about 11, 12, free sex, women were tearing their brassieres off and shit like that. Oh, fuck. Sounds good to me. But everybody heard free sex. Everybody saw women tearing their fucking brasiers off. Am I the only one that got fucked 40,000 times? I guess so. I guess so.
The only one that took action on it.
Exactly. You goddamn right I did. And now we're in a different era, you know. And if my almost 39-year-old daughter was sitting here, she said, "Dad, people don't think like that anymore." And that's why, you know, people like Putin exist, because we don't think like this anymore.
It's nearly like society's telling us to be that way. You can't act first.
It's the press has always been liberal. I can remember stories, okay? Although the press is pretty friendly to me. We won a Pulitzer Prize at the LA Times, a story about me, blah, blah, blah. But now they're more than liberal. Now the press dictates action that we take. And and not all of it's good. Some of it's good. I think that fact-checking the president is a good idea. But my alligator mouth has overloaded my hummingbird ass as many times as President Trump. The only difference is I'm not as high profile, so people, I don't know.
Turn a blind eye.
Yeah, they don't care. But high performance people tend to exaggerate. I'm not saying that's right. That's just the way it is. Elon Musk tends to exaggerate. Okay, Bill Gates tends to exaggerate.
But is that because in their minds it's realistic? That's like
no. In their minds, they're understating. Bill Gates just knows how fucked up we're going to be for the next pandemic. Just like you took a shit this morning, we're going to have another pandemic. And as far as I can tell, we haven't done shit that we learned from the last pandemic. We haven't. And he knows. Now, is that why he owns 30, 40% of all the patents for pandemic drugs? Sounds pretty smart to me. He's not hiding it, but he'll be a trillionaire the next pandemic. He's going to, people are going to hate him. I tell people, I got invited to Epstein Island 3 times and didn't go. Now, would I had a lot of fun, depending on how you define fun. But now all these poor fuckers that went,
they're fucked.
They're fucked. Yeah, and I didn't go 3 times. So so I knew something. But in those days, I mean, I got more sex than the Beatles. I mean, I couldn't equate getting on a plane and going to a little island, and why do we have to hide it? And so I just didn't go. Plus, women have their own rights. I don't need to have somebody force somebody to have sex with me. I would think that that's insulting if you've got to force somebody. But there's a whole undercurrent, and that's why the pedophiles and those kind of things exist today. They shouldn't. We're in the 21st fucking century. We haven't learned anything. I just saw somebody sent me a link that I deleted immediately. There's places on the planet today that live in the jungles that eat babies. Chinese supposedly eat babies too. I don't know about that. I've seen videos about that.
Yeah. I've heard something. It's fucked.
Yeah. And and maybe they're Australians in the outback or some shit. But I have a warm place in my heart. That's why I got run over by a buffalo. Outside Darwin, about 50, 60 kilometers outside Darwin, where the original Crocodile Dundee, a guy named Barry Lees, the real Crocodile Dundee, who was he had 1 foot or 1 leg about that much shorter than the other leg, and he limped anyway. And I got run over by a fucking buffalo. But but I got up, dusted myself off, and ran after it 2 or 3 kilometers and killed it. But I didn't want the story to end. The fucking buffalo he ran over. I can still see him coming over the top of me like that. And I felt like a bus hit me. And a 3,000-pound bus did hit me. But now I'm paying the price. It's one of the reasons I have an artificial hip, because he fucked my hip up. And I have all these metal parts because he just...
And you still chase him down.
Yeah, I limped. I still, Barry said, well, he's dead now. He said, he kept yelling at me. He says, I was out of ammunition. I didn't know it. I had a console 4.54 pistol, which only had 5 bullets. And I fired 5, and I couldn't tell if I was hitting him from the back end. I'm running after him. And then he turned around and decided to charge me. and he goes like this with his paws, just like in the movies. And then as he got about from to this where his camera is, I squeezed the last bullet off. Click. I was on ammo, but he fell dead from the other bullets. But Barry said that then we went to rest on the archipelago from northern Australia near Darwin up those islands. We went to rest for a few days, for my body to recoup.
Sounds like you needed it.
Yeah, but I was 50 then, and I could recoup in a day or two. 30 years later, I'm not so sure I'd recoup so quickly at 80. But never get back to your question. Never give up. And, you can't have a dream come true unless you have a dream. And so I still have dreams. And we're going to talk about some of them at my party the next 3 days. But I still, there's still a lot of things. I want to go into space. My wife's not too hot on this. I'm going to have sex in space with my wife.
Drink big.
$10 million each. The Russian space station, no problem. And they say they won't film you. They say. My wife wants to know. She wants to make sure they don't film us. So I don't know how you guarantee that. But I wouldn't mind burning up in reentry. Sex in space sounds good to me.
What a way to go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But the kids can't give up. I mean, you got to have dream big, kids. And Australia is not an easy place, but we have plenty of successes in Australia. And Jason Nagy has never signed a personal guarantee. Jason Nagy, 100% of all his deals are non-recourse.
Even his first couple.
And Adelaide, the asshole of the earth. So you can't tell me it can't be done. I know it can be done.
It can be done. I'm going to do it.
Okay. And he's going to, we got a couple other guys from Adelaide, which are not as successful as Jason, but he's on his third roll-up. I asked him the last interview we did a few weeks ago. I never asked this, and I've known you a long time. Are you still married? He laughed like hell. He says, yeah. To the same woman, he says, yeah. Fuck. You haven't asked me that in 7-8 years. I said, I just thought of it. And he's an animal. He's a workaholic. I mean, but he's not an alpha male. He's not. There's only a few guys out there. But Australia, we have a lot of successes. We have a lot of successes. And in the 90s, we rolled up brothels.
In Australia?
Yep. Where it was, I don't know if it's still legal, but it was legal then.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't want to know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have today. So thanks for sitting down with me and doing this.
You're very welcome. It's not that I wish you luck. It's beyond perseverance. You just got to hit it until it happens and never stop until, you're successful. And your goals will change. And
they have, yeah.
I wish everybody listening to this good fortune, but good fortune doesn't buy you much, and hope's not a very good strategy. But you got to get out there and do it.
It's action.
And the stuff on my site is all free, as you know. Although to date, and if there's any billionaires that were produced without me coaching them personally, let me know. So far, of the billionaires that have come out of QLA, I coached them all. In other words, they all came to the seminar.